My 28M girlfriend, 26F, told me I have no say because we're not married. I think I just got my wake-up call. So I'm sitting here at 2 am questioning everything about my relationship, and I need some outside perspective before I do something I might regret. Background: I've been with Madison for about 2.5 years. We moved in together about 8 months ago. Well, she moved into my apartment that I've had for 3 years. I own it, pay the mortgage, utilities, everything. She contributes maybe $300 a month for groceries, which honestly doesn't even cover what she eats. Madison has this tight group of friends: Amber, Kylie, and Sloan. I call them the Sparrows because they're always chirping and flocking together. They're here constantly. Like constantly. At least 4 or 5 nights a week, sometimes more. They treat my place like their personal hangout spot, leave messes, eat my food, and act like I'm the intrusion when I want to relax in my own home. Here's what happened yesterday that's got me all twisted up. Madison comes home and announces she's going on a beach trip this weekend with the Sparrows. Not asks, announces. Now, normally I'm cool with her having girl time. But here's the thing: we'd already made plans. Solid plans. We talked about checking out that new brewery downtown, maybe catching the afternoon baseball game, and I'd even made reservations at this Italian place she'd been wanting to try for weeks. I was actually looking forward to it because it felt like it had been forever since we had real one-on-one time. So when she announced this beach trip, completely disregarding our existing plans without even a sorry, but I felt something shift. I said something like, "Oh, when did you guys plan this? Would have been nice to know earlier since we talked about checking out that new brewery this weekend, and didn't I make those dinner reservations for Saturday?" She rolled her eyes. "We just decided yesterday, it's not a big deal." "I mean, it's fine," I shrugged. "I just wish I'd known sooner. I was looking forward to trying that IPA they have on tap." "Ryan, seriously. You're being clingy." "Clingy? I just said I wish I'd known earlier. We live together, it's normal to—" "That's exactly the problem," she snapped, turning to face me with this look I'd never seen before. "You think because we live together you get to have opinions about everything I do. Well, you don't get to have an opinion about what I do because we're not married. This is my life and my decision." The way she said it. There was this coldness in her voice I'd never heard before. Like I was some random guy she barely knew instead of someone she's been with for over 2 years. Someone who's been supporting her, giving her a place to live, dealing with her friends taking over my space constantly. I just stood there for a minute and something clicked. Not in an angry way, but more like clarity. Like when you've been trying to solve a puzzle and suddenly see the whole picture. She continued, "Besides, you knew I wasn't the type to ask permission when we started dating. That's not changing now. The thing is, she's right about one thing: we're not married. But that goes both ways, doesn't it?" I didn't say anything else. Just nodded and went to the bedroom. She left this morning for her trip, kissing my cheek like nothing happened, telling me she'd be back Sunday night. But here's what's been eating at me. I've been thinking about all the ways I've compromised over the past 2.5 years, and how I've always been the one to adjust. Every time her friends needed her, our plans got shelved. Every time the Sparrows wanted to hang out, I lost my evening. Every time there was a friend emergency, I was the understanding boyfriend who said, "Of course, go ahead." I've given up my home gym to make room for her vision board corner. Yes, that's a thing. I can't watch what I want on my own TV half the time because the Sparrows are always here having their wine nights or whatever. I've rearranged my schedule countless times to accommodate her social life. And in return, I get told I don't have a say because we're not married. What really gets me is that I had genuine excitement about this weekend. I've been working extra hours lately and was looking forward to just connecting with her again. Instead, I'm sitting here alone while she posts beach selfies. My neighbor, Mr. Callahan, older guy, widower, super wise, saw me sitting on my balcony this morning looking like hell. He came over and we got to talking. He didn't say much, just listened, but at the end he said, "Son, sometimes people tell you exactly where you stand with them. Believe them." Read it? I think Madison just told me exactly where I stand. The question is, what do I do with this information? Part of me wants to have a conversation when she gets back, try to work through this. But another part of me is wondering if someone who can dismiss me that easily after 2.5 years is someone I want to build a future with. Has anyone else been in a situation like this, where your partner basically tells you that your opinion doesn't matter because you don't have a ring on their finger? How did you handle it? I'm not looking to get married anytime soon. I want to be financially solid first, maybe buy a house. But I also don't want to be in a relationship where I'm treated like a roommate with benefits until someone decides I'm worthy of having opinions. Update 1. Posted 2 days later, the response was overwhelming, and a lot of you said things I needed to hear. Some harsh truths, but necessary ones. Madison is still at the beach with the sparrows. She's been posting Instagram stories non-stop, drinks, beach poses, the usual. A few stories seemed pointed, like one that said, "Finally free to be myself with her and the girls." Another one, "No asking permission needed." Cool. But here's what I've been doing instead of wallowing. Yesterday, I texted my neighbor Mr. Callahan and asked if he wanted to help me with a project. This guy is retired, bored, and honestly probably the most practical person I know. When I explained the situation, he just nodded and said, "About time, son." We spent Thursday going through my apartment and removing every trace of Madison's presence. And I mean every trace. Her skincare products that took up 80% of my bathroom counter, boxed. Her clothes that somehow migrated into every closet and drawer, boxed. The throw pillows she bought that I always hated, boxed. That vision board corner that used to be my home gym. Dismantled. Mr. Callahan was ruthless in the best way. He'd hold something up and go, "Hers." And when I'd nod into the box it went. No hesitation. The weird thing, with each box we filled I felt lighter, like I was reclaiming my space. But the real moment of clarity came when we found her little notes she'd left around the apartment. You know those sticky notes that say things like, "Don't forget to buy wine for the girls tonight." Or "Amber's staying over Tuesday," commands disguised as cute girlfriend notes. Mr. Callahan read one and just shook his head. "Son, she's been running your household like she owns it while telling you that you don't get opinions. That's what we call having your cake and eating it too." Today, Friday, I did something I haven't done in months. I went furniture shopping. Remember how I mentioned she took over my home gym for her vision board corner? Well, I ordered new gym equipment. It'll be delivered tomorrow. I also rearranged the entire living room. The couch is no longer positioned for optimal group conversations, Madison's requirement for the Sparrows' wine nights. It's now facing my TV in a way that's actually comfortable for watching sports. The kitchen table that was always cluttered with her friend's stuff. It's now clear and set up as a workspace where I can actually use my laptop. But here's the kicker, and I admit this might be petty, but Reddit seemed to appreciate petty justice. I changed my Wi-Fi name to "Not Your House, Not Your Rules" and the password to "By Madison." Mr. Callahan thought this was hilarious. He said, "Subtle as a brick through a window, but sometimes that's what people need." All of Madison's boxes are neatly stacked by the door. Her key is sitting on top of them. The apartment feels different now. It feels like mine again. I'd forgotten what that was like. I've also been thinking about what a lot of you said about how she's been treating me. The constant dismissal, the regular canceling of plans, the way her friends act like they live here, the complete disregard for my comfort in my own home. One comment really hit me. "She's been testing your boundaries for 2.5 years and you've been failing every test." That hurt to read, but it was true. She texted me a few times today, mostly just sending memes or complaining about sand. Normal girlfriend stuff. I've been cordial but brief. She has no idea what she's coming home to. Some of you asked if I'm planning to break up with her. Honestly, I'm curious to see her reaction first. Someone who truly cares about the relationship would be horrified to realize how dismissive they'd been and would want to fix things. Someone who doesn't, well, that'll tell me everything I need to know. Mr. Callahan put it perfectly. You've leveled the playing field, son. Now you'll see what kind of player she really is. She gets back tomorrow night. I'll update you all on how it goes. Edit. A lot of people are asking about the legalities of just packing her stuff. She never changed her address, still gets mail at her old place, and has no lease or rental agreement here. I checked with a buddy who's a lawyer, and since she's essentially been a guest who's never paid rent, I'm in the clear. Yes, I know changing the Wi-Fi password might seem childish to some. But honestly, after 2.5 years of being told I don't get opinions while supporting her lifestyle, a little pettiness feels appropriate. Update 2. Posted the next day. Madison came home around 8 p.m. last night, tanned and apparently in a great mood from her beach trip. She walked in chattering about how amazing the weekend was, how the sparrows had such deep conversations, and how she felt so recharged. Then she stopped talking. I was sitting on my couch, which she immediately noticed was in a completely different spot, watching a hockey game on my TV at a volume I could actually hear. I looked up and gave her a casual, "Hey, how was the trip?" Her eyes went straight to the boxes by the door. Then she looked around the apartment, taking in all the changes. The relocated furniture, the cleared spaces, the absence of her stuff everywhere. "Ryan, what is all this?" She pointed at the boxes. "Your things," I said, pausing the game. "Figured you'd want them back." "My things?" She opened one of the boxes and started pulling out her skincare products. "Why are my things in boxes? And where's my vision board corner?" "Oh, that. I set up my home gym again. Haven't been able to work out properly in months." The confusion on her face was slowly turning into something else. She walked around the apartment, seeing how different everything looked. You rearranged everything." "Yep. It's amazing how much space I have when it's just my stuff." That's when she tried to connect to the Wi-Fi and saw the network name. I watched her face as she read, "Not your house, not your rules." First confusion, then recognition, then this slow burn of disbelief mixed with anger. Her mouth actually dropped open a little bit. I had to bite my lip to keep from grinning. "Are you serious right now, Ryan? Deadly serious? What's the password?" "By Madison," all caps. The look she gave me could have melted steel. She tried the password, connected, and then just stood there staring at her phone. I watched the exact moment it sank in that I wasn't bluffing. Her face went from angry to genuinely stunned. Guess she wasn't used to me actually following through on anything. "This is ridiculous. You're acting like a child." "Am I? Because I thought I was acting like someone who's making his own decision about his own life because he isn't married." That's when it hit her. I could see the exact moment she remembered what she'd said to me before leaving. "Ryan, that's not. If this is about what I said that night, I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it then?" She sat down on the couch, my couch in its new position, and for the first time in our relationship, she looked genuinely rattled. I don't know, I was trying to make a point about independence." I just shrugged, mission accomplished. We sat in silence for a minute. Then she asked, "So what, you want me to move out?" "I want you to understand something, Madison," I said calmly. "You told me I don't get opinions about your life because we're not married. That works both ways. You don't get to live in my space, use my resources, have your friends treat my place like their clubhouse, and then tell me I'm just a boyfriend who doesn't matter. That's not what I meant, but it's what you said, and more importantly, it's how you've been acting." She tried a different approach. "Look, I know the girls come over a lot, but they're important to me. They're welcome to visit." I cut her off, "But this isn't their second home anymore. This is my apartment that I pay for, where I live and where I make the rules." The arguing went on for about an hour. She went through every stage: denial, anger, bargaining, more anger. She called me petty, fair, controlling, ironic, and immature, rich, coming from someone whose friends leave makeup all over my bathroom. But here's the thing, I stayed calm the entire time. Every boundary I stated was reasonable. Every rule I set was about basic respect. And every time she got heated, I just reminded her, "You're right, we're not married, so this is my house and these are my rules." Around 10 p.m., she started calling the sparrows. I could hear Amber's voice through the phone getting high-pitched and indignant. Madison kept saying things like, "He just completely changed everything. And he's being so unfair." Finally, she hung up and said, "Amber thinks you're having some kind of breakdown. Amber can think whatever she wants, in her own apartment." "What's that supposed to mean?" It means the Sparrows' wine nights are now at someone else's place. That's when she really lost it. Started yelling about how I was trying to control who she could see, how I was isolating her from her friends, the whole manipulation playbook. But I was ready for this. Madison, you can see your friends anytime you want. You can have girls' nights whenever you want. You can take spontaneous beach trips without considering your own boyfriend's feelings, just like you did this weekend. You have complete independence. You're just not doing it in my apartment anymore while disrespecting me in the process. She stormed out around 11 p.m. saying she was going to Amber's and that we'd talk about this when you're being rational. I haven't heard from her since. Mr. Callahan knocked this morning with coffee and a bag of donuts. Heard some raised voices last night. Everything okay, son? When I told him what happened, he just nodded. She'll be back. Question is whether she's coming to apologize or to fight. That'll tell you everything. Right now, I'm sitting in my reclaimed apartment, drinking coffee in my home gym. The equipment arrived this morning and I feel peaceful. For the first time in months, truly peaceful. A few people have asked if I love her. Yeah, I do, but I love myself more. And I'm finally understanding that loving someone doesn't mean accepting disrespect. Edit. Some of you are asking about the friend group dynamics. Honestly, the Sparrows never liked me much anyway. I was always just Madison's boyfriend who happened to own the place they liked to party. They'll be fine without access to my apartment. Final update. Posted 3 days later. Well, Reddit, this saga has come to its conclusion, and honestly, it went exactly how many of you predicted it would. Madison came back Tuesday evening with backup, Amber and Kylie. Sloan was strategically absent, according to Amber, which I thought was hilarious phrasing for someone avoiding drama. The three of them walked into my apartment like they were staging an intervention. Madison had clearly spent the last 2 days getting coached by the Sparrows, because she came in with this whole prepared speech about relationship equity and emotional labor and partnership dynamics. But here's the thing, I'd spent those same 2 days talking to Mr. Callahan, thinking about what I actually wanted and getting comfortable with my decision. Madison's speech went something like, "Look, Ryan, I'm sorry about what I said before I left. I was stressed and I phrased it wrong. But this," she gestured around the apartment, her hand pausing where the boxes still stood, "this is completely unreasonable. You can't just erase me from your life because of one argument. We're supposed to be partners, and partners find middle ground. I never meant you don't matter, of course you matter. But you have to understand that I need my independence too." Amber jumped right in to back her friend up with, "Ryan, Madison loves you, but you can't just unilaterally change the terms of your relationship because you got your feelings hurt." That phrase, "got your feelings hurt," like I was some oversensitive child instead of a man who'd been disrespected in his own home. I let them finish their intervention, then asked one simple question. "Madison, do you believe I deserve to have opinions about what happens in the apartment I own and pay for?" She hesitated. Actually hesitated. After everything we'd been through, she couldn't give me a straight yes. "It's more complicated than that, Ryan." "No, it's really not," I said flatly. Kylie tried to jump in with some nonsense about how relationships require compromise and growth, but I cut her off. "Kylie, with respect, this conversation is between Madison and me, in my apartment. But we're Madison's support system, and you're welcome to support her, at your place." That's when Amber got nasty. Started saying I was controlling, manipulative, that I was showing my true colors, and that Madison deserved better than this toxic masculinity bullshit. I just looked at Madison. "Is this what you think? That setting boundaries in my own home is toxic masculinity?" More hesitation. "Then, I think you're being extreme. Extreme. For wanting to be respected by my girlfriend in the apartment I pay for." Madison tried one more approach. "Look, what if we set up some ground rules? Like the girls only come over twice a week and they help clean up and—" "Madison, stop, just stop." I think that's when she realized I was done. Not angry done or hurt done, but actually completely done. "You've been living here for 8 months, I said, treating this place like you own it while telling me I don't get opinions because we're not married." Your friends have been using my home like their personal clubhouse while you encourage it. And when I finally stood up for myself, you brought reinforcements to argue me down instead of just respecting me. That's not, she opened her mouth to argue, but I calmly raised my hand. The look on my face made her stop short. Let me finish. I've spent 2.5 years accommodating you, compromising my comfort, adjusting my life to fit your needs. And the moment I asked for basic respect, you told me I don't matter because I haven't put a ring on your finger. Well, you're right. We're not married, which means I don't have to accept this. And you don't have a say with what I do either. The room went quiet. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to take your boxes and find somewhere else to live. The Sparrows are no longer welcome here, not for wine nights, not for hangouts, not at all. We're done. Amber exploded. Started shouting about how I was punishing Madison for being independent and how I was clearly not ready for a real relationship. But Madison just looked defeated. You won't even try to work this out. Madison, I tried for 2.5 years. I tried when you moved your friends in permanently. I tried when you took over my space. I tried when you dismissed my feelings. I tried right up until you told me I don't matter. I'm done trying. They left with the boxes, all 3 of them. Amber made sure to slam my door. But here's the best part. Yesterday, Mr. Callahan knocked on my door with a surprise. Son, I know you've been having a rough time and I think you could use some company. He brought me a dog. A Great Dane named Bruno who belonged to his nephew who's deploying overseas and needed someone to foster him for a year. Bruno is massive, gentle, and the perfect apartment companion. He's already claimed the spot on my couch where Madison used to pile her throw pillows. This morning, I woke up in my own apartment, in my own space, with my own rules. I worked out in my home gym, made breakfast in my uncluttered kitchen, and watched Sports Center at whatever volume I wanted. For the first time in 2.5 years, I feel like myself again. Mr. Callahan came over for coffee and to meet Bruno properly. You know, he said, scratching behind Bruno's ears, sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is show them the door. Either they walk through it or they realize they don't want to. And Madison walked through it. She sure did. Question is, do you feel bad about that, honestly? No, I feel relieved. I feel free. I feel like I remembered who I am when I'm not constantly trying to keep someone else happy at my own expense. Some of you might think I was too harsh, that I should have given her another chance. But she had 2.5 years of chances. She had every opportunity to treat me with basic respect, and she chose not to. The Wi-Fi name is staying, by the way. It makes me smile every time I see it. Edit. For those asking, yes, Madison tried to text me yesterday. Something about wanting to talk like adults. I didn't respond. We already had that conversation. But the messages only got more frequent. Apparently she's having trouble finding a place and staying at Amber's is temporary at best. By message 6, she was asking if she could just grab a few more things and if we could discuss this rationally. Message 10 was about how I was being cruel and punishing her for one mistake. I blocked her after that. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Time to close this chapter and move on. Bruno and I are going to be just fine.
My girlfriend ruined my career to teach me a lesson about making time for her. So, I dumped her right away. I'm 32. Running a successful store chain kept me busy, but I thought I'd finally found someone special. My ex-girlfriend, Jane, seemed to understand my drive and ambition, something rare in the dating world. Looking back now, I was so caught up in the excitement of meeting someone who got me that I missed all the red flags. Funny how love can make you overlook the things that just don't add up. I met Jane at a local business networking event. She was smart, charming, and seemed genuinely interested in my career aspirations. Our connection was immediate, and within weeks, we were dating steadily. Those first few months were like a dream. She'd bring me coffee during late shifts, listen intently when I talked about work challenges, and even help me organize my filing system one weekend. I love how dedicated you are, she'd say, watching me review spreadsheets on my laptop. It's rare to find someone so passionate about their work. I remember thinking how lucky I was. Finally, A partner who didn't make me feel guilty about my ambition. Someone who understood that success requires sacrifice. Or so I thought. The first signs of trouble were so subtle, I almost convinced myself I was imagining things. My laptop charger, which I always kept in the same spot on my desk, suddenly appeared in the kitchen cabinet one morning. When I asked Jane about it, she just shrugged. Maybe you moved it while you were making coffee. She suggested. You've been working such long hours lately, it's natural to be a bit forgetful. Then my external hard drive, containing months of stored data and planning documents, vanished for 3 days. I turned my apartment upside down looking for it, stress mounting as deadlines approached. When it finally showed up behind a couch cushion, Jane's explanation seemed plausible enough. Oh, I was cleaning earlier this week. It must have fallen there when I was dusting. But things escalated. One night, I pretended to go to bed early, exhausted from a particularly challenging day at the store. In reality, I was too anxious to sleep, worried about a major vendor meeting the next day. That's when I heard it, the soft clicking of my keyboard in the living room. I found Jane standing at my computer, folders open on the screen. When she saw me, she jumped like she'd been caught stealing. I was just looking for that playlist you made me, she stammered, but her hands were shaking as she stepped away from the desk. Something in her expression made my stomach drop. I should have checked the computer right then, but exhaustion and a desperate need to believe her explanation won out. I went back to bed, pushing down the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. The next morning, my world imploded. Every folder containing crucial store documents was empty. Sales projections, staff schedules, vendor contracts, all gone. Not just moved or hidden, but completely erased. The recycle bin was empty too, suggesting a deliberate purge. My hands were trembling as I called Jane. Did you delete my work files? What files? Her voice was too casual, almost smug. Don't play dumb with me, Jane. All my stored documents are gone. I saw you on my computer last night. There was a long pause. Then her tone changed completely. Fine. Yes, I deleted them. And you know what? You deserved it. The venom in her voice shocked me. She launched into a tirade about how I never made time for her, how I was always working, always distracted by store business. I tried talking to you about it, she spat, but you never listened. So yes, I deleted your precious files. Maybe now you'll pay attention to what matters. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This woman, who I'd trusted completely, who I'd shared my home and life with, had deliberately sabotaged my career to teach me a lesson. Get out, I managed to say, my voice shaking with rage. Get out of my apartment right now. Oh, so now you have time to talk? She sneered. What's wrong? Are your precious spreadsheets more important than our relationship? You destroyed my work files on purpose. This isn't about attention or our relationship anymore. This is about you deliberately trying to harm me. She switched tactics immediately, tears welling up in her eyes. I just wanted you to see how much you were hurting me. You're always working, always on your phone or laptop. When was the last time we had a real conversation? That doesn't justify what you did. I shouted, my composure finally breaking. If you were unhappy, you could have talked to me like an adult. Instead, you chose to destroy months of work and potentially damage my career. Get out. Now. The next few days were a blur of panic and desperate attempts to recover the lost data. I tried every recovery software I could find, spent hours on the phone with IT specialists, and even hired a data recovery consultant. The external drive that should have contained backups was wiped clean too. Jane had been thorough in her sabotage. My father, a retired business owner himself, was furious when I told him what happened. This isn't just about deleted files, he said, his voice grave. This is about trust and respect. She deliberately tried to harm your career. You need to take legal action. At first, I hesitated. The idea of suing someone I cared about felt extreme. But as I tallied up the hours lost, the money spent on recovery attempts, and the potential damage to my professional reputation, I realized my father was right. I found a lawyer who specialized in civil cases, particularly those involving property damage and financial loss. During our first meeting, I laid out everything that had happened, including the text messages where Jane admitted to deleting the files. This is a clear case of intentional property damage with malicious intent, my lawyer explained. The fact that she admitted to doing it deliberately, with the specific purpose of causing you distress, strengthens our case considerably. We filed the lawsuit, and that's when Jane showed her true colors completely. She launched a smear campaign among our mutual friends, painting me as a workaholic who cared more about money than relationships. She even tried to contact my mother, spinning a tale about how I was being cruel and unreasonable. Mom, I explained when she called me concerned, she deliberately destroyed my work files. This isn't about our relationship anymore. This is about someone trying to sabotage my career. The legal process was draining, both emotionally and financially. Jane tried every trick she could think of to make me drop the case. She sent threatening messages, claiming she'd reveal embarrassing details about our relationship. She spread rumors that I was embezzling from the store, a ridiculous accusation that thankfully no one believed. She even showed up at my workplace once, causing a scene in the parking lot until security escorted her away. Throughout it all, I remained focused on the legal proceedings. Every threat, every manipulative message, every attempt at intimidation was documented and added to our case file. My lawyer assured me that her behavior only strengthened our position. The day of the court hearing arrived, and I felt a strange mix of dread and determination. Jane arrived looking confident, probably expecting to charm her way out of the situation as she had so many times before. But the evidence was undeniable. My lawyer presented a methodical case. The text messages where she admitted to deleting the files, detailed records of the recovery costs, documentation of lost work hours and missed deadlines, and evidence of the subsequent harassment. The judge listened carefully, occasionally glancing at Jane with obvious disapproval. When it was Jane's turn to speak, she tried to paint herself as the victim of a neglectful relationship. I just wanted him to pay attention to me, she pleaded. I never meant to cause so much damage. But the judge wasn't swayed. Intentionally destroying someone's property is not an acceptable response to relationship issues, she stated firmly. Your actions show a disturbing lack of respect for both personal property and professional boundaries. The judgment came down in my favor. Jane was ordered to pay damages covering the cost of data recovery attempts, consultation fees, and compensation for lost work hours. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to cover my expenses and validate the wrong that had been done to me. The aftermath was both vindicating and exhausting. Jane tried to appeal to me through mutual friends, claiming she'd learned her lesson and wanted to make amends. But I'd seen her true nature, and there was no going back. I implemented strict new security measures at home and at work. All important files are now backed up in multiple secure locations. My computer passwords change regularly, and I'm much more careful about who has access to my workspace. The experience changed how I approach relationships, too. I'm more mindful of maintaining clear boundaries between my personal and professional life. I've learned that someone who truly cares about you won't try to sabotage your success, no matter how neglected they feel. My father's words still ring true. Success attracts both supporters and saboteurs. The trick is learning to tell them apart before they can do real damage. Today, I'm focused on rebuilding, not just my career, but my trust in relationships. The store is doing well, and I found a better balance between work and personal life. But I'll never forget the lesson learned. Sometimes the people closest to us can cause the most harm, and standing up for yourself, even when it's difficult, is crucial for both personal and professional survival. The lawsuit wasn't just about recovering damages. It was about sending a message. Actions have consequences, and no one has the right to destroy what you've worked hard to build, regardless of their reasons. It's a lesson that cost both of us, me in time and trust, her in money and reputation, but one that needed to be learned. Looking back, I'm proud I stood my ground. Every time I pass by my now secure computer setup, I'm reminded that protecting your work isn't just about backing up files. It's about recognizing and dealing with threats, even when they come disguised as love and concern. The experience has made me stronger, more vigilant, and paradoxically, more balanced. I still work hard and pursue my ambitions, but I'm better at communicating my boundaries and expectations. And most importantly, I know now that anyone who truly supports you will respect both your work and your worth. Some mutual friends still think I overreacted by taking legal action. But as my father says, sometimes the most important lessons cost the most to learn. In this case, the cost was worth it for the peace of mind and self-respect I gained in return. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.
My grandma left me her inheritance and cut out my dad and brother. Now, I finally learned the reason. I'm 27, and my life has become a soap opera that I didn't sign up for. A little over a year ago, my grandma passed away, leaving behind her house in upstate New York, worth over $600,000 and $250,000 in cash and assets. It was devastating to lose her. She'd always been a quiet but steady presence in my life, the kind of person who seemed to have wisdom for every situation. I remember our last conversation, just weeks before she passed. We were sitting in her garden, the autumn leaves falling around us. "You know, Ethan," she said, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea, "sometimes the hardest truths are the ones we keep closest to our hearts." I didn't understand what she meant then. I do now. What I didn't know was how much she'd prepared for her departure. After the funeral, where Dad gave a tearful eulogy and Lucas stood stoically beside him, I got a call from her lawyer. The voice on the phone said, "I need you to come in for a private reading of the will." I figured it was standard procedure. Maybe some paperwork. What I didn't expect was to walk into a room with my two aunts, Clara and Linda, and hear that my grandma had left 1/3 of her estate to each of them, and the last third to me. Me. Not my dad. Not my brother Lucas. Me. "This can't be right," I remember saying, my voice barely above a whisper. The lawyer, Mr. Davidson, adjusted his glasses. "I assure you, your grandmother was very clear about her wishes." I was stunned. I wasn't married, didn't have kids, and was still figuring out my career. Meanwhile, my dad was a small business owner, a father of 2, and the type of guy who never missed a family gathering. Why would she leave it to me? I barely had time to process the news before Mr. Davidson slid an envelope across the table. "Your grandmother wanted you to have this," he said, his expression giving nothing away. Inside was a handwritten letter, her familiar cursive bringing tears to my eyes. But the words quickly shifted my emotions from sadness to shock. My dad wasn't Lucas's biological father. My mom had been pregnant when they met in college, and my dad had decided to raise Lucas as his own. This decision caused a massive rift in the family, with my granddad disowning my dad entirely. The letter explained that my grandma had stayed in touch with Dad secretly, but her resentment lingered. She felt my dad had betrayed the family by keeping Lucas's parentage a secret. Her decision to leave him out of the will was her way of making a statement, a way to acknowledge what she saw as the sacrifices I had made over the years. Sacrifices? I wasn't sure what she meant. I had always felt like the supporting act in a family where Lucas played the starring role. But was that what she saw too? Maybe this was her way of giving me a chance to shine, without the constant shadow of my golden stepbrother looming over me. My dad didn't take the news well. The call started almost immediately after the meeting. "Ethan, pick up the phone," his voicemail demanded. "We need to talk about this will situation." When I finally answered, his voice was tight with anger. "What exactly did the lawyer say? Can this be contested?" "It's legally binding, Dad," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Grandma made her wishes clear." There was a long pause before he asked, "You're going to share it with me and Lucas, right?" The question hung in the air, heavy with expectation. I thought about all the times I'd been pushed aside, all the moments where Lucas's needs came first. "I need time to think," I replied. Growing up, Lucas was always the golden child. Every soccer game had Dad on the sidelines, shouting encouragement. "That's my boy. he'd yell when Lucas scored a goal. Meanwhile, my achievements collected dust. I remember the day I won the statewide writing competition. I'd spent months perfecting my story, staying up late to get every word right. "Dad," I said at dinner, "I won first place." He barely looked up from his plate. "That's nice, son. Hey, Lucas, tell us about that scholarship interview." Now, armed with this secret, I saw the pattern more clearly than ever. My dad had spent years overcompensating for Lucas, making him feel like he belonged, but in doing so, he'd pushed me aside. My mom's reaction to the inheritance was telling. When I confronted her about the letter's contents, she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Your grandmother had her reasons," she said, busying herself with dishes that didn't need washing. "Mom, did you ever plan to tell me the truth?" Her hands stilled. "Some truths are better left buried, Ethan." As the days passed, my dad's frustration boiled over. One evening, he and Lucas showed up unannounced at my apartment. "This inheritance nonsense ends tonight," my dad declared as they pushed past me into the living room. Lucas, his face red with anger, jabbed a finger at my chest. "You're being selfish, Ethan. This money should help the whole family." I laughed bitterly. "Help the whole family? You mean help you, Lucas? Everything has always been about you." "What's that supposed to mean?" he demanded. "It means I'm tired of being second best. Every achievement, every milestone, nothing I did was ever good enough because it wasn't you doing it." The argument escalated, years of resentment bubbling to the surface. "You've been Dad's favorite since day one," I said, my voice rising. "And now you're mad because Grandma finally did something for me." Lucas sneered. "You're just jealous because Dad loves me more. At least I earned what Grandma gave me. You've been handed everything on a silver platter your whole life." The tension was unbearable, but I refused to budge. I wasn't going to let them guilt me into giving up what was rightfully mine. Then came the moment with the letter. After another heated confrontation where Dad accused me of tearing the family apart, I handed it to him. "Read it," I said quietly. Read what Grandma wanted me to know. His face paled as his eyes moved across the page, the truth sinking in. "She shouldn't have told you," he muttered, hands shaking. "It wasn't her place." "But it was your place to keep lying?" I fired back. "To keep pretending everything was fine while treating me like I didn't matter?" "I was trying to protect everyone," he pleaded. "You don't understand what it was like." "You're right. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could spend decades making me feel worthless just to make Lucas feel better about himself." For the first time, my dad looked defeated. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I never meant to..." "Save it," I cut him off. "Your actions spoke louder than any apology ever could." Lucas, however, was still in the dark. When he found out about the letter through my dad, his reaction was explosive. He burst into my apartment one evening, face contorted with rage. "What's in that letter?" he demanded. "Dad's acting weird, and Mom won't stop crying." "What did you do?" I stood my ground. "Maybe you should ask them about it. Ask them who your real father is." The color drained from his face. "What are you talking about?" "Read it yourself," I said, handing him the letter. "Everything you need to know is right there." His hands trembled as he read, and I watched as his world crumbled around him. But instead of apologizing or reflecting, he lashed out. "You had no right," he shouted. "No right to destroy our family like this." "I destroyed the family?" I laughed incredulously. "The family was built on lies long before I knew the truth." The legal battle that followed was ugly. Dad and Lucas tried everything to contest the will, hiring expensive lawyers and making wild claims about my grandmother's mental state. But in the end, they failed. My grandma's wishes stood firm, and the estate was mine. The aftermath was quiet, but final. I cut ties with my dad and Lucas, blocking their numbers and moving to a new apartment. My mom still calls occasionally, her voice heavy with unsaid words. "They miss you," she said during our last conversation. "They miss what they could get from me," I corrected her. "There's a difference. I've sold the house now and used the money to start my own business, a small publishing company focusing on new writers. It's something I've dreamed about since winning that writing competition all those years ago. Though back then, those dreams seemed impossible under the weight of family expectations. My office has a view of the city, and sometimes, when the sun sets just right, I think about my grandma and that last conversation in her garden. Maybe she knew exactly what she was doing, setting these events in motion. Maybe this was her way of finally letting the truth free. Now, for the first time, I'm living life on my terms. It's not perfect, and some days the weight of the past feels heavy, but I'm free. Free from the shadow of my golden stepbrother. Free from my dad's guilt trips, and free to build a future that's mine and mine alone. Yesterday, I received an invitation to Lucas's wedding. I sent it back, unopened. Some chapters of our lives are better left closed, and I'm ready to write my own story now.
My girlfriend's family tried to drain my saving for their purpose. So, I secretly destroyed their business. I'm a 25-year-old guy. I've always been cautious with money. Growing up, my dad, who worked as a government official, drilled into me the importance of being careful about who you trust. So, when I started dating my ex-girlfriend a couple of years ago, I never thought her family would become the reason I had to put those lessons into practice. She was great, funny, caring, and always up for a good time. Her family, though, was a completely different story. From the start, I noticed they were the type of people who always had an angle. Her dad ran a construction business, and her mom worked as some sort of consultant. But what they really seemed good at was sizing people up to see what they could get from them. I tried to ignore it at first. After all, I was dating her, not her family. But it was impossible to avoid. The first time they asked me for something, it seemed harmless. Her dad mentioned needing a little help with his company's website. Since I work in tech, he figured I'd be the perfect guy to fix it up. I thought it would be a quick favor, adjust the setting here, update a plugin there. Instead, when I showed up, he handed me a massive to-do list. We're redesigning the entire site, setting up e-commerce, and fixing security issues. I told him straight up, this isn't a quick job. It's going to take hours. He waved it off, saying, it'll be good practice for you. Plus, family helps family, right? I didn't want to start drama, so I tried to compromise. I can help with some minor fixes, but anything beyond that, I need to charge for. This is basically a freelance job. His face immediately changed, like I'd just insulted him. I'm giving you an opportunity here, he said. But if you don't want to help, I'll just find someone else. I shrugged it off, but it left a bad taste in my mouth. Things only got worse from there. A few months later, they invited me on a family trip to this fancy resort. At first, I declined. I wasn't in the mood to spend thousands on a vacation. But her mom insisted they'd cover the cost. She kept saying, we're all family here. This is our treat. I eventually caved and went. The trip was fine, but the day after we got back, her dad handed me an itemized bill for my share. I laughed, thinking it was some kind of joke. It wasn't. We figured you could pay us back once you got your next paycheck. He said like it was the most normal thing in the world. You told me this was on you guys. I replied, trying not to lose my temper. It was temporarily, her mom chimed in, but you're working, so it's only fair. I flat out refused and they got annoyed, calling me ungrateful. My girlfriend stayed quiet the whole time, which pissed me off even more. I should have left then, but I didn't. One weekend, her brother borrowed my car without asking. He claimed his car had broken down, and he needed mine for an emergency. I only found out later that the emergency was a road trip with his friends. The car came back filthy, with an empty gas tank and a scratch on the bumper. When I confronted him, all he said was, relax man, it's just a car. I made it clear they weren't getting near my stuff again, but they didn't seem to get the message. Things really blew up during a family barbecue. Her dad started pitching me on this investment opportunity. He wanted to expand his business, new trucks, better equipment, a marketing push, and he thought I'd be the perfect guy to invest. I told him I wasn't interested. It's not just about money, he said. This is about building a future with us. If you're serious about my daughter, this is the kind of commitment you need to make. I tried to stay polite. I'm not in a position to invest in something like this right now. He didn't push it further that day, but my girlfriend wouldn't drop it. She kept bringing it up, saying things like, "My dad doesn't ask for help often. This could be huge for us. You're being too cautious." I started feeling like I was being pressured from all sides, so I avoided going over to their house for a while. That didn't stop her dad from trying again. The next time I came over, he had a full-blown presentation waiting for me. PowerPoint slides, spreadsheets, a contract, the works. Her mom was there too, chiming in about how real men take risks for their families. I was done being nice. "I already told you I'm not interested. This feels like a setup, and it's making me uncomfortable." Her dad looked pissed, but he backed off. Still, the whole thing fell off. Then came the moment that really flipped the switch for me. I got a call from my bank about a failed login attempt on my account. At first, I thought it was a scam, but something didn't sit right. I checked my laptop's browser history and saw my banking site had been accessed the same day my girlfriend had borrowed my computer. When I confronted her, she admitted everything. "They just wanted to see what kind of savings you had." She said like it wasn't a big deal. "Hey, you let your parents into my bank account." She started yelling. They didn't log in. They just wanted to check if you were serious about helping out. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You realize how messed up this is, right?" She shrugged. "You're overreacting. They just wanted to know if you could afford to invest." I packed a bag and told her I needed some time to think. When I told my dad what had happened, he was furious. "They've been trying to bleed you dry from day one," he said. "Cut them off now before they really screw you over." My dad's advice was always solid, but what he said next ended up being the nail in their coffin. "There's something shady about all this. What do you really know about their business?" It turned out not much, but a family friend of ours worked in the tax department, so I asked him if he'd heard of them. He laughed when I mentioned her dad's name. "Oh yeah, that guy's been on our radar for years," he said. "He's got a reputation for underpaying workers and shady bookkeeping." Hearing that, I started digging. I found complaints online from ex-employees, suppliers, and even customers. The guy was a total scam artist. I passed everything I found along to my dad's friend, and within a few weeks, their business was under investigation. Let me tell you, when they found out, the fireworks were insane. Her dad called me, screaming about how I'd ruined him. Her mom left me voicemails saying I was a vindictive little bastard. Even my ex tried to guilt me, saying I should have just helped them instead of destroying her family. I blocked them all. Their assets were frozen during the investigation, which meant no cash flow to keep things running. Suppliers started pulling out, employees quit, and clients bailed. The whole operation collapsed in a matter of months. I thought that would be the end of it, but they still tried to weasel their way back into my life. Her mom called me from a new number, pretending to be civil. "We know things got out of hand, but we're family. We all make mistakes. Maybe you can help us rebuild." I cut her off. "We're not family, and I don't owe you anything. Stop calling me." She started yelling, saying I'd regret turning my back on them. I hung up. Then came the rumor mill. They started telling mutual acquaintances that I had sabotaged their business out of jealousy. They said I was obsessed with proving I was better than them and that I'd used my family's connections to upset them up. A few people reached out to ask if it was true. I told them to look up the public records. The investigation spoke for itself. One of the most ridiculous moments came a few months later when my ex emailed me. She didn't apologize for anything that happened. Instead, she said I should consider giving her family some money as a way to make amends. Her reasoning? "We let you into our lives, treated you like family, and now we're struggling because of you. If you really cared about me, you'd help us out." I didn't even bother replying. Her brother also tried to pull one last stunt. He showed up at my place unannounced, asking if he could borrow some money to get back on his feet. I told him to leave before I called the cops. The funniest part? Even after everything, they still acted like I was the bad guy. They couldn't seem to wrap their heads around the fact that their own behavior had led to their downfall. Last I heard, her dad was working odd jobs. Her mom had moved in with a relative, and my ex was trying to piece her life back together. I have no idea where her brother ended up, and I couldn't care less. Looking back, I should have seen the red flags earlier, but at least I got out before things got even worse. The whole experience taught me to trust my gut and never let anyone guilt me into ignoring my boundaries. Some people see kindness as a weakness, and if you're not careful, they'll bleed you dry. It's been a while now, and I've moved on. I'm in a much better place, both financially and emotionally. I've kept my circle small and cut off anyone who brings drama or entitlement into my life. It's been peaceful, and that's exactly how I want to keep it. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one. My girlfriend sold my dog behind my back for her trip. Now, I took my dog back and left her. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I live alone just outside the city. Well, not really alone. I've got my dog, Bolt. He's a 3-year-old golden retriever, and honestly, the best part of my day is coming home to him. I've had him since he was a puppy, and he's like family to me. It sounds corny, but I'm pretty attached to the guy. I've been dating Lucy for about 2 years. We weren't living together, but she'd spend a lot of time at my place, maybe 3 or 4 nights a week. Things have been good between us, at least at the start. She was fun, social, always planning stuff to do, and at first I liked that energy. But over time, something shifted, and it started to feel like she wasn't really content with what we had. She kept pushing for more and more trips, more spending, more of everything, really. Now, I'm not exactly rolling in cash, but I do all right. I've got a decent job, a small house, and I live comfortably. But Lucy's lifestyle was different. She was always talking about vacations, trips to Cabo, Miami, Europe. Her Instagram was full of friends posting pics from fancy places, and I could tell it was getting to her. She complained about her job, about not having enough money to go anywhere, and she'd drop hints about how we could afford it if we just planned better. By we, she meant me. The first big red flag I should have seen came a few months ago. Out of nowhere, Lucy suggested I sell my car, an old but reliable Toyota. She wasn't subtle about it either. Babe, why don't you sell that junker and get something nicer? You deserve it, she said while scrolling through her phone one evening. Plus, it'd give you extra cash for stuff like trips. At first, I thought she was joking, but she wasn't. She kept bringing it up, talking about how it was embarrassing to be seen in such an old car, how a new car would reflect my success better. I just shrugged it off and told her I wasn't interested in spending money on a new car, especially not to impress people. I could see she was annoyed by that, but whatever. I didn't think much of it. Fast forward a couple of weeks. She starts talking about a trip her friends were planning to Cancun. She was practically buzzing with excitement. The problem? She didn't have the money to go. Again, she hinted. No, actually, she outright asked if I could help her pay for it. Come on, it's just a little help. You don't spend money on anything fun, so what's the harm? She said with a smirk, half serious, half joking, but mostly serious. I laughed it off, thinking she wasn't really expecting me to drop a couple of grand on our vacation. I mean, we're dating, but it's not like we were married or even living together. I wasn't about to bankroll her and her friend's girl's trip. The way I saw it, if she really wanted to go, she'd figure it out. That's how adults deal with things, right? Anyway, I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. One night I came home after a long day at work, expecting the usual, Bolt greeting me at the door, tail wagging, happy as always. But this time, no Bolt. It was weird because he's always there right at the door. I called out for him, but nothing. I started looking around the house, and that's when I noticed his leash and collar were gone. My heart started pounding. Panic set in. I called Lucy, no answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. At this point, I was freaking out. I dialed her number probably 5 or 6 more times until finally she picked up. She sounded casual, almost bored. Hey, what's up? She said like everything was totally normal. Where's Bolt? I asked, my voice shaky. He's not here. Oh yeah? I took him to a friend's place. She said it was no big deal. He's fine. I didn't even understand what she was saying. What do you mean you took him to a friend's place? Who? Why? She sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. I found someone who's interested in buying him. They're offering a good price, and I figured, you don't really need him. Plus, the money could help with my trip. I was stunned. It took me a second to even process what she was saying. You did what? She said it like it was no big deal. like she decided to sell an old piece of furniture or something. Look, he's just a dog, babe, and you can always get another one later. It's not like he's a child or anything. Plus, you don't even have time to take care of him properly. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You try to sell my dog? She acted like I was the one overreacting. Come on, don't be so dramatic. I thought you'd be happy. I'm helping you out. This way, you don't have to worry about taking care of him while you're working, and I get to go on the trip. It's a win-win. At this point, I was seeing red. Where the hell is he, Lucy? I demanded. She huffed, clearly annoyed. Relax, he's still with me. I haven't finalized anything yet, but they're coming tomorrow to pick him up. I hung up the phone. I couldn't even talk to her anymore. I drove straight to her place, not even sure what I was going to do when I got there. My mind was racing. Was Bolt okay? Was she really planning on selling him? When I got to her apartment, I banged on the door until she opened it. She looked annoyed, like I was interrupting her night. What the hell, Lucy? Where is he? I asked, pushing past her into the apartment. She rolled her eyes. God, you're being ridiculous. He's fine. I started searching the apartment, going from room to room. When I opened her bedroom door, I heard a whimper. I swung open her closet, and there he was. Bolt, tied up and scared. His eyes lit up when he saw me, but I could tell he was stressed. I grabbed his leash off the floor, untied him, and turned back to Lucy. You locked him in a fucking closet? She crossed her arms. I didn't want him making a mess before the people came to see him. Jesus, calm down. He's fine. I couldn't even respond. I just grabbed Bolt's leash and headed for the door. Lucy followed me, yelling about how I was being unfair, how I didn't understand, how she was just trying to make things better for us. For us? I snapped, finally turning around to face her. You tried to sell my dog without even asking me. This isn't for us. This is for you. She threw her hands up in frustration. You're so selfish. You never want to do anything fun. You just want to sit at home with your dog and do nothing. You don't care about my dreams, about what I want. I'm trying to make a life for us, and all you care about is that stupid dog. I didn't even have words. I just walked out, Bolt at my side, her voice still ringing in my ears as I slammed the door behind me. That was it for me. I was done. No more excuses. No more trying to see your side of things. She was willing to sell my dog, my best friend, just to fund some vacation. Who does that? The next day, she texted me a long apology. Said she didn't mean to hurt me, that she was just stressed about money, and that she thought this would be a good way for us to move forward together. She even had the audacity to say she was doing it for us. Like selling Bolt behind my back was some kind of favor to me. I didn't respond. I blocked her number, her social media, everything. Changed the locks on my house, and made sure Bolt's microchip info was updated with all my contact details. I wasn't taking any chances. It's been a week since then, and honestly, I feel more relieved than anything. I didn't realize how much stress she'd been causing me with all her entitlement and constant need for more and more and more. Looking back, there were so many little red flags I ignored because I thought that was just how relationships were. But when someone crosses a line like that, trying to sell your dog without telling you, there's no coming back from that. So yeah, I broke up with her. And I kept the dog. Bolt is fine now. He's curled up next to me as I'm typing this, looking at me like he's just glad I'm not leaving him in a closet again. We're good. Life's a lot quieter without Lucy around, and I'm okay with that. Better quiet than dealing with someone who thinks it's okay to treat people and dogs like they're disposable. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. And I guess the moral of the story is this. If someone's willing to mess with the things or people you care about just to get what they want, they're not worth your time. Sometimes the quiet life with a dog at your side is all you really need. Bolt and I are doing just fine. For anyone wondering, he's healthy, happy, and we're back to our normal routine. No more drama, no more manipulation. Just me, my dog, and a whole lot of peace. So to anyone out there dealing with something similar, trust your gut. And remember, always pick the dog. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.
I should have known something was wrong when Chloe started talking about her brand more than she talked about us. My name's Ryan, and I work in post-production at a studio in Burbank. Editing, color correction, VFX. Basically, I make other people's content look good. 14-hour days are normal, sometimes 16 during crunch time. But it pays the bills, specifically my half of a $3,400 a month apartment in West Hollywood. 900 square feet, paper-thin walls, parking that costs extra. That's LA for you. Chloe moved in about a year ago after we'd been dating for 6 months. She was trying to make it as an influencer, lifestyle content, fashion, wellness shots, the whole package. About 50K followers back then. Enough to get PR packages and maybe a sponsored post here and there, but not enough to actually pay rent. I'm on the verge of something big, she'd tell me, recording herself doing yoga poses on our tiny balcony. I just need to level up my content. People want aspiration, you know, luxury, the lifestyle. Sure, I got it. This is L.A. Image is everything. But there's a difference between aspiring to luxury and actually affording it. That difference became very clear about 3 months ago. I just wrapped a brutal week, 6 14-hour days color grading a Netflix series that was already behind schedule. Friday night I got home around 11, completely wiped. Chloe was on the couch, phone in hand, ring light illuminating her face. "Hey babe," she said without looking up. "How was work?" "Long." I dropped my bag and headed for the kitchen. We had leftover Thai food from 2 nights ago. I grabbed it straight from the container, too tired to even microwave it. "I'm thinking about rebranding," Chloe announced. "My engagement's been flat. I need to go more high-end, show people the elevated LA lifestyle." I looked around our apartment. Kia furniture. A TV I'd bought on Black Friday 3 years ago. Posters I'd framed myself. This wasn't exactly high-end. "Makes sense," I said, because it was easier than starting a conversation about reality versus aspiration at 11 p.m. on a Friday. "I'm glad you think so." She smiled at me, the smile that had hooked me 2 years ago at a friend's rooftop party in Silver Lake. "Because I'm going to need to make some investments in my wardrobe. You know, elevated pieces, luxury brands, it's all about perception." "Sure, yeah, whatever you need." Famous last words. The next Tuesday, I was grabbing lunch at my desk, a sad burrito from the food truck outside the studio, when I decided to check my credit card balance. I've been putting some unexpected equipment repairs on my Chase Sapphire, wanted to make sure I had enough room before the statement closed. I logged into the app, waited for it to load, and then stared at the number on my screen. 23,847.52. I blinked, refreshed. The number didn't change. $23,000 on a card that had maybe $4,000 on it last week. My hands went numb. I clicked into the transaction history, scrolling through with my heart hammering. Chanel Rodeo Drive, $4,250 Dior Rodeo Drive, $3,890 Chanel Rodeo Drive, $6,100 Gucci Rodeo Drive, $2,450 Dior Rodeo Drive, $4,780 St. Laurent Rodeo Drive, $2,377. It went on and on, all from yesterday, all from Rodeo Drive, all charged to my card. I called Chloe immediately. "Hey babe," her voice was bright, cheerful. I could hear music in the background. She was probably filming content. "What's up? What's up?" I tried to keep my voice level. "Chloe, there's $20,000 in charges on my credit card from yesterday from Rodeo Drive." Silence. Then, "Oh, yeah, I was going to talk to you about that." "You were going to?" I stopped, took a breath. "You spent $20,000 on my card without asking me." "Ryan, don't be dramatic. I needed to upgrade my wardrobe. I told you I was rebranding. How am I supposed to show luxury lifestyle content if I'm wearing Zara?" "By maybe starting with brands you can actually afford." "I can afford it." Her voice went sharp. "I've got a huge brand deal coming through. I'll pay you back next month, I promise. This is an investment, Ryan. In my career, in our future, right? Our future where I worked 14-hour days and she bought $6,000 purses on my credit card. You should have asked me first. I'm asking you now. Her tone shifted, softer, pleading. Baby, I know it seems like a lot, but I promise this is going to change everything. The deal I'm working on, it's with a major wellness brand, 6 figures. This is happening. I just need to look the part to close it. I wanted to believe her, I really did. She sounded so sure, so convinced that this was the move that would change everything. Fine, I said, but next month, Chloe, you pay me back next month. I promise. Thank you, baby, you're the best. This is going to be so worth it, you'll see. I hung up and stared at my half-eaten burrito. $20,000. That was more than 6 months of rent. That was a new car. Jesus, that was a down payment on an actual house somewhere that wasn't Lowe's Angels. But she'd promised. Next month. I tried to focus on work, tried to push down the sick feeling in my stomach. She'd pay me back. She said she would. 4 days later, I was at my desk again, eating another sad lunch. This time a protein bar and an energy drink because I'd been too rushed to grab real food when I decided to check Instagram. I don't know why. Habit maybe. Procrastination. The edit I was working on was tedious and I needed a mental break. I opened the app and the first thing on my feed was Chloe's story. The image loaded slowly. Studio Wi-Fi is always garbage, but when it did I just stared. Chloe, holding a champagne flute, no, a mimosa, sitting in what was clearly a business-class lounge. The geotag said Lax Tom Bradley International Terminal. The caption, sometimes you just need to say yes to adventure. #living my best life. Cabo, here we come. Cabo. She was going to Cabo. I clicked through to the next story. Her and 3 other women I vaguely recognized from her influencer circle, all holding drinks, all laughing. The girls' trip we've been planning forever, the caption read. My phone buzzed. A notification from Chase. Transaction alert. 4 Seasons Resort Lowe's Cabo's $2,847 transaction alert. Alaska Airlines $1,456. I sat there, protein bar halfway to my mouth, staring at my phone screen. She'd spent $20,000 of my money on purses and shoes 4 days ago, promised to pay me back next month, and now she was charging a luxury resort and plane tickets to Mexico on the same card. My hands were shaking when I called her. It rang 4 times. Then her voice, bright and a little breathless. Ryan, hey, I'm literally about to board. Can this wait? No. My voice came out flat, dead. It can't wait. You're going to Cabo. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you, but it was so last minute. The girls invited me and I needed this, Ryan. I've been so stressed with content creation and the brand deal negotiations. I needed a break. With my money, a pause. What? The resort charge, the plane ticket, both on my card, Chloe. The same card you already maxed out with 20 grand in designer bags. I heard her cover the phone, say something muffled to someone else. Then her voice came back, but different now, colder. Ryan, seriously, your credit limit is like 40,000. You can handle this. Think of it as an investment in my mental health, in my content. I'm going to get amazing footage for my feed. An investment in your, I couldn't even finish the sentence. You promised you'd pay me back. Next month. That's what you said. And I will. God, Ryan, why are you being so cheap about this? Real LA men don't nickel and dime their girlfriends. Do you know how embarrassing this is? I'm literally standing here with my friends and you're calling to lecture me about money. I heard giggling in the background. Her friends probably heard every word. Chloe, look, I'm boarding. We'll talk about this when I get back, okay? Just don't be like this. You're ruining my trip before it even starts. Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. And honestly, maybe think about why you're so insecure about money that you can't support your girlfriend's career and well-being. That's something you should work on. Then she hung up. I sat there in my editing bay, surrounded by expensive monitors and equipment that wasn't mine, holding a phone that was still warm from the call, and something inside me just broke. No, not broke. Crystallized, hardened, became very, very clear. I opened my banking app and called Chase. Chase customer service, this is Derek. How can I help you? Hi, I need to report my credit card as stolen and dispute some fraudulent charges. The process took about 20 minutes. I explained that someone had accessed my card without permission and made unauthorized charges. The representative was sympathetic, professional. They froze the card immediately, started the chargeback process for the Mexico trip charges, and escalated the Rodeo Drive purchases for investigation. The card will be declined for any new charges as of now, Derek told me. You should receive a new card in 7 to 10 business days. Perfect, thank you. I hung up and sat back in my chair. Then I called my landlord. Hey Tony, it's Ryan. Quick question, if I wanted to change the locks on my apartment, do I need to go through you or can I just hire someone? You can hire someone, but send me a copy of the new key for emergencies. Everything okay? Yeah, just want to make sure my place is secure. No problem, man. Let me know if you need a locksmith recommendation. Next call, my buddy Jake, who'd gone through an ugly breakup last year and had worked with a lawyer. Dude, Jake said when I explained the situation, you need to talk to Rebecca Ortiz. She's in Century City, specializes in this kind of financial stuff. She's not cheap, but she's vicious. Can you text me her number? Sending it now. And Ryan, good for you, man. Seriously, about time you stood up for yourself. I called Rebecca's office, got an appointment for tomorrow morning. Then I went home early, told my supervisor I was feeling sick, which wasn't exactly a lie. My stomach had been churning since I saw that Instagram story. The apartment was empty, quiet. I looked around at all of Chloe's stuff. The ring light in the corner, the racks of clothes she'd bought with my money, the ridiculous number of throw pillows she insisted made the place look curated. I found the shopping bags from Rodeo Drive stuffed in the back of our closet. She hadn't even taken the tags off most of it yet, probably saving them for content, for unboxing videos, for whatever performative bullshit she was planning. I pulled everything out, laid it on the bed, took photos of every item with the tags visible, the receipts, everything. Then I logged into the RealReal and Poshmark and started listing. Chanel Classic Flat Bag Black brand new with tags $4,000, retail $6,100. Dior Book Tote never used $2,800, retail $3,890. Gucci Marmont new condition $1,800, retail $2,450. For each listing I wrote the same description. From my ex's shopping spree, tag still on, her loss, your gain. The messages started coming in within an hour. By the time I went to bed, I'd sold 3 bags and had serious offers on 4 more. The next morning I met with Rebecca Ortiz. She was maybe 50, sharp-eyed, wearing a power suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. I laid out everything. The charges, the promises, the Instagram story, the phone call. She listened, took notes, asked pointed questions. This is pretty straightforward, she said finally. Credit card fraud. She used your card without explicit permission for personal purchases. The fact that you're in a relationship doesn't give her carte blanche to your credit. You have texts, call records, banking statements. We can file in civil court, pursue damages plus legal fees. How long does that take? Depends on if she contests it, but given the evidence, I'd say we're looking at a settlement within 3 months. Most people don't want this going to trial. Bad optics. Let's do it, she smiled. I'll have papers drawn up by end of day. I was back at work in the middle of editing a particularly tricky sequence when my phone started blowing up. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Madison, Chloe's friend. What the fuck did you do? Her card got declined at dinner last night. We had to cover her. She's freaking out. Text from another unknown number. You're a piece of shit. Leaving Chloe stranded in Mexico. Real mature, Ryan. Then finally, Chloe, call me right now. I didn't call. I texted back. Card was stolen. Reported it to the bank. Sorry for any inconvenience. My phone rang immediately. I declined it. It rang again. Declined. Then the texts started coming rapid fire. Ryan, this isn't funny. I'm stuck here with no money. The girls are so mad at me. You're embarrassing me, calling me. You can't do this. I'll pay you back, I promised. Please, Ryan, I'm begging you. I muted the conversation and got back to work. 3 days later, Chloe came home. I wasn't there. I'd stayed at Jake's place since the locksmith had changed the locks, but Jake lived close enough that I could drive by and check. Her stuff was on the curb. Everything. I'd spent the previous evening packing it up, Clothes, makeup, the ring light, the tripod, all those stupid throw pillows. Black garbage bags and cardboard boxes stacked neatly on the sidewalk. And taped to the front door, a copy of the civil complaint Rebecca had filed. Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles. Ryan Parker v. Chloe Bennett. Complaint for 1. Credit card fraud, 2. Breach of oral contract, 3. Intentional misrepresentation. I watched from my car as she pulled up in an Uber, clearly couldn't afford a lift anymore. She was wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, her hair in a messy bun, no makeup. This wasn't the curated influencer version. This was the real Chloe, looking exhausted and furious and small. She saw the bags first, stood there staring. Then she saw the legal papers. Even from half a block away, I could see her face crumple. She tried the door. Of course it didn't open. She tried it again, then started banging on it. Ryan, I know you're in there. Open the fucking door. I wasn't in there. But I watched her bang and scream for about 5 minutes before a neighbor came out and told her to keep it down or they'd call the cops. She slumped against the door, pulled out her phone, called me. I watched it ring on my passenger seat. Didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I deleted it without listening. Then she started loading her stuff into the Uber. It took 3 trips. The driver clearly wasn't happy. I watched her struggle with the bags, with the boxes, with the ring light that kept tipping over. No friends showed up to help. No Madison, no whoever had texted me calling me a piece of shit. Just Chloe, alone, loading her life into a stranger's car. When she finally left, I waited another hour. Then I went home. The apartment felt bigger without her stuff. Quieter. I ordered pizza, drank a beer, and scrolled through the sales notifications from Poshmark and The RealReal. I'd made back $18,000 so far. Not the full 20, but close enough. The settlement came through 8 weeks later. Chloe didn't fight it, she couldn't, really. The evidence was overwhelming. She agreed to pay me back the remaining $2,000 she owed, plus my legal fees, $4,500, in monthly installments of $200. It would take her years, but honestly I didn't care about the money anymore. Rebecca told me Chloe's influencer career had imploded. Turns out her friends had posted about the Mexico disaster. That girl who made us pay for her dinner then ghosted us, lol. And the LA influencer community is small. Word spread fast. Brands started dropping her. Her follower count tanked. Last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents in Arizona and was working retail at a Sephora. The huge brand deal she'd been negotiating never existed. Rebecca's team had subpoenaed her emails. There was no deal, no 6-figure contract, just a lot of wishful thinking and performative networking. She'd been living on credit, mine, and calling it a career. Me? I'm still in LA, still working in post-production. Still living in the same apartment, though I got a new roommate, another guy from the studio, someone who actually pays his half of the rent on time. I kept my Chase Sapphire, but I keep it locked unless I'm actually using it. Trust issues, I guess. But here's the thing. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. Free from someone who saw me as a credit limit instead of a partner. Free from someone who measured my worth in what I could buy her. Free from the constant pressure to fund someone else's fantasy life while I ate protein bars at my desk. Sometimes I still see Chloe's Instagram. She hasn't blocked me, probably hoping I'll see her comeback story. She posts less now. When she does, it's the same aspirational content, the same poses, but you can tell something's missing. The luxury, the shine. The stuff she bought with my money. Her captions are different now too. Lots of talk about authenticity and finding yourself in growth. The comments are mostly bots. I don't feel good about what happened to her. I don't feel bad either. I feel nothing. And that's how I know I made the right call. Because the person I was with for 2 years wasn't real. She was a performance, a carefully curated brand. And the moment I stopped funding the production, the whole thing collapsed. Real LA men don't nickel and dime their girlfriends, she'd said. Real LA men also don't let people drain their bank accounts while calling it love. I learned that the hard way, in the most expensive way possible, but at least I learned it before I put a ring on it. Epilogue: last week, I got promoted. Associate editor to lead editor. More responsibility, longer hours sometimes, but also a significant raise. I'm saving now, actually saving. Building an emergency fund, contributing to my 401k, doing all the boring adult stuff Chloe used to roll her eyes at. And you know what? It feels good. My new roommate is cool. We watch Lakers games and argue about the best Korean barbecue in K-Town and split groceries evenly. It's simple, easy, no drama. I've been on a few dates, nothing serious yet, but I'm not rushing it. I'm learning to spot the red flags earlier now. The ones I ignored with Chloe because she was pretty and fun and made me feel like I was part of something exciting. Exciting isn't always good. Sometimes exciting is just expensive. I still work 14-hour days sometimes. I still eat sad desk lunches. I still live in an overpriced apartment in a city where everyone's chasing a dream. But at least now I'm only responsible for funding my own dream, not someone else's delusion. And that $20,000 lesson, worth every penny, because I'll never make that mistake again. The awakening in Los Angeles wasn't pleasant, it wasn't neat. It was messy and embarrassing and financially devastating, but I woke up, and that's what matters. Some people spend their whole lives funding someone else's lifestyle, calling it partnership, calling it love, calling it investment. I spent 2 years and $20,000, and then I stopped. That's my victory. That's my revenge. I'm awake now, and I'm never going back to sleep.